Everyone says the secret to fasting is picking the right method, but that's not true. The real secret is how often you do it. In my 15 years helping people lose weight, I've discovered that most people are either fasting too much or not enough. So in this video, I'm actually going to show you exactly how often you should fast for each form of fasting, from the easiest beginner method all the way to the most advanced, who each form of fasting is really for, and the warning signs to look out for that you're fasting too much. And at the end, I'm also going to give you my free guide to my favorite form of fasting, the one that helps you burn the most belly fat while you sleep with the least amount of effort. Okay, now here's something most fasting videos skip right over, and it's the single biggest reason people over 50 stop seeing results after the first month. I'm talking about the fact that your body is smart and it will adapt to whatever you do consistently. This is why the same fasting schedule that was melting fat off you in week 2 stops working by week 6. Scientists have a name for this. It's called metabolic adaptation, and it kicks in faster the older that you are. Your body figures out your schedule and it stops giving up its fat reserves as easily. That's why the people who actually keep getting leaner after 50 don't stick to just one fasting method. They mix it up, changing their approach every few weeks so that the body never fully adapts and then fat keeps coming off month after month. So as I walk you through each fasting method, I want you to think about which ones could fit into your weekly and monthly schedule. That way, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your options are and then how to keep losing weight without hitting that dreaded plateau. All right, the first method is 12 by 12. It's the easiest place to start. 12 by 12 means you eat during a 12-hour window and you don't eat during the other 12 hours. So if you finish dinner at 7 p.m., you don't eat again until 7 a.m. the next morning. And then you only eat between that 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. window, nothing outside of there. You sleep through most of it and you barely notice that you're fasting. The frequency is simple. You do this every single day. Most people over 50 are already close to 12 to 12. They finish dinner, they sleep, then they wake up and they eat breakfast. The problem is the snack at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 p.m. That resets the clock and keeps insulin elevated when your body should be burning fat. So the real work at this stage is truly shutting down the kitchen right after dinner. And if you can, also stick to 3 meals during the day with no snacking in between. You'll get way more out of this method and set yourself up for everything that comes next. If you're new to fasting, you should stay here for about 2 weeks. And then once it feels easy, you're ready for the next level. So step 1, no snacking, normal eating window. The next fasting method is 16-8. This is where the real fat loss starts to kick in. 16-8 means you fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. A typical setup is eating from noon to 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you're a woman, your morning cortisol naturally runs higher than a man's, so you may want to shift your eating window a little bit earlier in the day. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and fasting on top of an already elevated cortisol is stacking stress on top of stress, which can then leave you wired, but also tired and hungry all at once. So if you can, aim to start eating by 10 a.m. Now, the reason 16-8 works so much better than 12-12 is the extra 4 hours. Once you get past about 14 hours without food, your insulin drops low enough that your body starts pulling from stored fat instead of the food that you ate yesterday. That's the switch you're trying to flip, and 16-8 is the simplest way to flip it consistently. When it comes to frequency, most people do this every day, but if you're brand new to it, ease in by doing 16-8 a few days a week and sticking with 12-12 on the other days while your body adjusts. Then once it feels easy, you can keep fasting this way as long as you want. There's no need to cycle off unless your results start to stall. The next method is a 5-2 method. And this one's for people who don't want to fast every single day. With 5-2, you eat normally 5 days per week, and then 2 days per week, you do a modified fast. On those 2 fasting days, most people eat around 500 to 600 calories. Me personally, I can usually go even less than that, but the frequency is 2 days per week, and those 2 days should be spaced out, never back to back, a Monday and a Thursday. That's a classic way to do it. But any 2 non-consecutive days work, and I like to play with my schedule. I like the busier days, a Monday, to put this in because I'm so busy doing other things that I don't think about food as much. So I like to spread those fasting days out to my busiest days of the week. The reason you space them out is sustainability. 2 low calorie days back to back is way harder to push through, and research shows that people stick with it better and get better results when the days are split up. Now, this method is perfect for anyone who looks at daily fasting and thinks there's no way I can do that, because 2 days per week is something almost anyone can pull off. Research shows people are able to stick to this better than any other fasting method out there. Not only that, once you hit your weight loss goals with a 5-2 method, you can drop it down to a single fasting day a week, also called a 6-1 method, and it maintain the results just fine. You can then continue doing that as long as you want. It's a very healthy, long-term curb your consumption method. All right, now we're getting into the more aggressive territory. The next method is alternate day fasting, or ADF for short. With ADF, you eat normally one day, then keep your calories down to under 500 the next, and you keep alternating like that all week. The frequency works out to be about 3 or 4 restricted days per week. ADF is one of the most powerful fasting methods for fat loss in the research. But I'll be honest with you, it's also the one people quit the most. Studies have actually tracked the dropout rate, and almost 4 out of 10 people who start ADF don't finish. This is also the point where more fasting can actually start working against you. If you keep pushing restriction day after day, your body can downshift into protection mode, which is where all of the signs you're fasting too much start to show up. Now, these can include hair thinning, feeling colder, being tired all the time, getting easily irritated, catching every bug that's going around, and oddly enough, holding on to fat even though you're fasting more. That's your sign that you've crossed the line from making progress to going backwards. So needless to say, this isn't where beginners should start. You should already be comfortable with a 16-8 method or 5-day, 2-day method before you even consider ADF. And if you do try it, don't stick with it forever. Research shows ADF works best when you run it in blocks of about 8 to 12 weeks. You go hard for 2 or 3 months, get rapid fat loss, and then you back off to something easier like the 5-2 method to hold the results. The next method is the 24-hour fast. This one's exactly what it sounds like. You go a full 24 hours without eating. The easiest way to do this is dinner to dinner. You finish dinner around 6 or 7 one night, and then you don't eat again until dinner the next night. I'll throw this one in quite often. You sleep through a big chunk of it, which makes 24 hours a lot more doable than it sounds on paper. And what makes the 24-hour fast so useful is that it gets you into a deeper level of fat burning that the shorter fasts can't reach. By the time you hit 18 to 24 hours, your body has burned through most of its stored sugar, and it's pulling almost entirely from fat for fuel. It's a great way to respond after a bad eating binge or a vacation. You also start getting into autophagy, which is your body's natural cleanup process where it breaks down and recycles damaged cells. That's where some of the bigger anti-aging benefits of fasting really start to kick in. So how often should you do it? Once a week is a sweet spot for most people. If you're more experienced, you can push it to twice a week, but I wouldn't push past that. And you may have heard of something called OMAD, where you eat 1 meal a day in a 1-hour window. That's basically a 23-hour fast, and it puts your body in nearly the same place as a 24-hour fast does. The difference is OMAD is a pattern you do multiple times a week, while a 24-hour fast is a once-a-week reset. For most people over 50, the 24-hour version is the smarter pick. You get the same benefits without the daily struggle of trying to cram all your protein and nutrients into a single meal. That will also do a better job protecting your muscle from breaking down. The last method is the multi-day fast, which is anything that goes 48 hours, 72 hours, or beyond. This is the most advanced fasting method, and it's the one with the biggest payoff if you do it right. That's because when you push past 24 hours, you start hitting things the shorter fast simply can't reach. Around the 36 to 48 hour mark, autophagy ramps way up. Your body goes into deep cleaning mode, breaking down damaged cells and the buildup that linked to aging and disease. At the same time, your insulin drops to its lowest levels. Your growth hormone can double or triple, and your body kicks into repair mode like nothing else can match. This is the closest thing to a hard reset you can do for your body. But, and this is a big but, multi-day fasts are not something you should do often. For most people over 50, I recommend once a month or once a quarter. It's it's not a weekly tool. I usually teach people to go 1 or 2 or maybe 3 days once a month in our challenges. It's a once in a while reset. And if you're on blood pressure or blood sugar medication, don't attempt a multi-day fast without talking to your doctor first. And also build up to it. Get comfortable doing a 24-hour fast before you try 48. Get comfortable with a 48-hour fast before you try 72. Done right, a multi-day fast a few times a year is one of the most powerful tools you have to lose weight and repair your body. Now, speaking of powerful tools, make sure you grab my free guide to my favorite form of fasting. It's the one that I use myself and recommend to my patients to burn the most belly fat with the least amount of effort, because most of the work happens while you sleep. So I will include a link to that in the description below. Okay, now you know exactly how often to fast, but knowing the schedule isn't what trips most people up. What trips them up is the hunger. It wears people down hour by hour until they cave and they break the fast early and then convince themselves fasting just isn't for them. Fortunately, you don't have to white knuckle your way through fasting. There are actually specific foods and drinks that you can have during your fast that won't break it. I call it dirty fasting. They keep you in fat burning mode while killing the hunger and giving you a little bit of energy to follow through. I broke down the top 6 in my other video, and it's the most popular fasting video that I've ever made. I'll include a link to that here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.